Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this video as short and concise as possible. This is just a response to Scott saying that he couldn't replicate what I was talking about when I was discussing that Blight can no longer lunge through dead hards if timed correctly based on skill, because the thing with Blight is everybody knows that he has a giant hitbox when he's first, like, while he's rushing, when he first goes into his attack, he has a giant hitbox compared to, like, a few frames later, like, during his actual swing, his hitbox gets smaller, and that's why it's easier for him to miss at that point. So, good Blights will wait until their character model is basically touching the survivor before they start their swing, and that's how you pretty much guarantee a hit in normal circumstances. However, when it came to Old Dead Hard, we're gonna ignore the possibility of being exhausted on the ground for this because obviously that happened literally all the time, especially if you were doing that technique where you make sure that you're touching them um, before your hitbox gets smaller. So we're going to ignore the exhausted on the ground. We're only going to be talking about dead hards that actually worked. So previously, um, if you were to miss, or they were to get a successful dead hard while you were just swinging, it would look something like this. I made my friend dead hard early just to make sure that I wouldn't get validated for this explanation. But it would look something like that, right? Obviously, they dead harded, I swung, I wasn't holding M1, I literally just clicked my button, and it gave me, like, the shortest blight rush lunge possible, and I missed because they dead harded away from me. Again, this is also assuming that the survivors aren't smart and they're trying to dead hard away from the blight. Good survivors will dead hard to the sides or towards the blight, obviously, because that's the best play, but we're talking about survivors that are dumb and they're going to dead hard away from the blight. So that's what roughly an old dead hard miss would look like if I were to just try and click and lunge. And I know that footage was a little, like, obviously my friend dead harded early, I like swung early, but I was just trying to absolutely ensure that I didn't get validated in this update. But we're gonna assume that I would have waited until I was touching them and then swung, and then their dead hard just magically worked still and I missed. So just try and, like, I guess make that into consideration. So this is what I would do, right? I would hold M1 down, and we managed to get this to work first try with him dead harding a little bit early and me starting my lunge just a tiny bit early. Um, but we would assume that, again, I'm waiting until I'm touching them before I start my lunge, and I would always hold M1 to make sure that I was lunging instead of just M1ing, and you would always hit through it because your lunge is just simply faster and longer than their dead hard. So this is what I'm focused around. Is I cannot do that anymore, and the reason is because the game now decides this is with me holding M1 still. The game still decides that my hit is going to connect during the iframes, and so it stops my momentum, it stops my lunge. I can no longer lunge through the dead hard like I would have done previously. So, oh fuck. So, like, right here, instead of that connecting previously, or my client thinking it would connect or whatever, it would just keep swinging until his dead hard was over, and then it would connect afterwards. You can't have that anymore. And I found consistency in that. We did this like 3 or 4 times. And every single time I was holding M1 down with my life, pushing that button through my desk, and it didn't matter. I was getting validated and I couldn't lunge through that hard anymore. So I'm not sure, Scott, like what you were doing that you couldn't find consistency in this or you couldn't replicate it, but I mean, there's obviously no way for, like, I could go download a program and, like, have a little, like, keyboard on the screen or whatever with, like, a little mouse, and, like, show you on screen that I'm holding M1. Because, like, obviously in this clip you can't see my mouse, you can't see that that's what I'm doing, and if you want me to, like, download something like that to prove it, I can. just like send me the shit that I need and I'll set it up on OBS or whatever. But um, you're just gonna have to trust my word if you want to go from this, I guess. I was holding M1 and it was consistent. We did it like 3 or 4 times in a row, and I was like, okay, so it is consistent. So that's just sort of like what I'm talking about, and I guess a little bit of demonstration about what it was. Thanks for watching. I guess this video really isn't for anyone else, but it's gonna be public so that Scott can see it. I don't know. Bye.